Sooners of Oklahoma at 12-0 and still looking for respect nationwide.
What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Barry and Mack Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports performance coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And alongside me, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing today, D-Mac?
Doing well, B. Appreciate you for asking me. Happy Sunday to everybody. Hopefully you guys spend some time with the Lord or whatever your faith-based, situation is. But watching the Niners play against the Saints right now with all of our backups. Let's see if we can hold on for victory. Had a good time watching Oklahoma play yesterday. I think that victory was a little different than some of the ones I'd say we've seen in probably 10 years even. And so excited to get into the post-game pod, do some gorilla nuts, get ready for Auburn week.
Yeah, D-Mac, it was a kind of a good weekend of college football. You had the Tennessee-Georgia game, down to the wire. Unfortunately, the dogs got the better of them. But man, I would say the LSU game was also pretty solid. Saw Brian Kelly at the end of that game, very, very upset because the reporters are like, why weren't you guys better on third down? This, that, and the third. But the game we're here to talk about today, OU Temple. OU goes up to Philadelphia, and really from the moment they got there, that defense walked out the gates ready to roll, D-Mac. I said it on X, and we'll dive into the position groups and discuss that as we always do. But this was one of the first games in really over a decade, but we might be going back to like early Stoops teams before we're really seeing something like this. And guys, I know about the turnovers. I think BV addressed that. But this is the first time, D-Mac, that we're seeing teams with good offenses, teams that have put up points, teams that have playmakers. You're talking about Michigan, talking about Temple, and even Illinois State to some degree. Teams that have put up points on the other guys. And you're not just seeing an Oklahoma defense hang in there, give up 14, give up 17, win the game comfortably by a couple scores. What we're seeing defensively, D-Mac, is a total just demolishing of the game plan on their side of the ball. And that is a level of defense that we just haven't seen in Norman in quite some time. The defensive line has been dominating with penetration, staying true to their fits. A lot of things are getting done. The secondary has played up to the standard. There's probably another notch that even they can go, as well as the linebacking core. But from a defensive standpoint, we have seen a lot offensively. The run game is starting to pick up a little bit. Yes, they've needed Mateer's 51-yard touchdown run to sort of not put the game on ice, but make the score look a little prettier for the pundits out there. That certainly helped the numbers. But at the end of the day, Blaylock was getting going. He had a tough physical run on his first score of the day. And you saw the wealth get spread to the receivers, to Kanik. And Kanik, man, we'll talk about him, but he is quickly becoming a real weapon for this offense. Not only catching passes on 3rd and 19, but also getting in there for the two-pointer with the no-look dunk off at the goal line there for the two-point conversion. But D-Mac, I want to start on the defensive side of the ball because to me that was the most impressive piece. When you look at the Venables defense of this season, this version, 2025, and this one going into the SEC, really gauntlet starting this week against Auburn. What are we really seeing? Is this a facade? Is this one of those that we're going to get into SEC play and all of a sudden we're going to see the wheels fall off? Or is there some truth and steadiness to the product that the Crimson and Cream are putting out there today?
I think there's two approaches to take in this scenario. And I think after Auburn, it'll really um, resonate with me what approach to take. Approach number one is obviously to say it looks different. It does. It looks different. And I would back that up by also admitting that last year you saw glimpses of a defense that if they had any type of offense that can maintain possession, put threats on the other team's defense and go out there and score points and be a competent offense, that defense could have potentially also had that ceiling, I guess is a good word to say. But I do think a year older, a year more experienced, all the returning starters, and again, to continue to upgrade the talent has helped make this defense one that, dare we say, again, we'll wait until after next week, but I think after next week, it'll be pretty safe to say a championship caliber type defense. That's something that I think I'll hold off one more week on using that language. But here's what I will do. The other perspective is this. There comes a point in your defense, there comes a point in your program where you've got to stop making apologies, excuses, the narratives to support why something did happen. And then you got to start really critiquing how to go from good to great, go from great to excellent, go from excellent to championship. So what I will do this week in critiquing this game is speak to the areas where I feel like, yes, they're great. And the standard in which I'm going to be speaking to the defense is how to get from great to excellent. And again, how to get from excellent to championship down the road. And so I say all that to say, yeah, we could sit here and pat those guys on the back. They did a lot of things well. But the very first play of the game, first or second play of the game, that tight end catches that lag wheel down the sideline. It's the same play Texas runs against San Jose State last week where the guy scores a touchdown. But they're cooking. And I believe if they don't go 3 and out, which the defense handled business. And again, we're talking about a great defense. I'm not sitting here trying to poo-poo. I can't poo-poo. They played extremely well. But if that guy catches that ball, Temple going into that game, creating a raw environment, averaging 50 points a game, 2-0 on the season, coming into Philly, right? They had their whole little slogan going pregame. I believe they play a little better. And so when OU watches film, I don't know if they're going to watch it today or watch it tomorrow. I think the very first thing BV pulls up on film is that play. And he says, guys, no one beat that guy. He wasn't even covered. He just dropped the ball. Go watch first, second play of the game. Right. And so I say that to say, I'm working on a project called Red October. I'm going to be releasing a book, really going into details about, well, I'm not trying to pitch anything, but I think it correlates. I'm remembering our championship season and settling for well enough versus being great and then pushing further and then getting into Red October and being excellent and pushing further. You don't win games against A&M. You don't win at A&M. You don't win games against Oklahoma State in Stillwater where they're nail biters and it could go either way. And there's a lot of things going against us. The momentum is not on our side unless you have that championship DNA. And so I think it's pertinent at this point in time to start looking at the game through that lens. You talk about defense, pat yourself on the back. We still have not contributed to a turnover. We have an opportunity to get our very first turnover of the season and our defensive lineman pats it to the other guy instead of swallowing the ball. That matters in a game where you need that last possession. I think about the depth at that corner. I believe Gentry was a healthy scratch or just a very injured scratch, right? Which is why he didn't play. I think you could say the same thing about KD. I think KD was out there the first possession maybe, but for sure he was not out there the Lions portion of the game. I look at that second corner spot. That's a spot where I'm watching a ton of SEC games yesterday, but I watched the entire Tennessee versus Georgia game. Georgia picked on the freshman. I watched the A&M versus Notre Dame game. By the way, they picked on the second corner of that game, right? It tells me very clearly that teams, when you get into conference, are going to test the 11th best starter you have. And so thinking about 15, I don't even know his name. By the way, he actually played better after the first quarter. The first quarter, he was kind of he was off and soft. And I could tell coach was like, hey, man, don't get beat deep. But they were picking on him underneath. And as the game got more in tune, he came up. But I do know this. Getting the conference, going against Coleman at Auburn. They're going to line him up at Guillory, right? You got a 5'10", 170, 85-pound true freshman, right? It's a bigger difference if you don't have Gentry out there. Obviously, EI is close to coming back, so potentially he's out there. So I am critiquing the team from the lens of a championship caliber defense, and right now they're just great. And again, that's not a bad thing. It is what it is. Speaking to the point you brought up already, Illy State has shown us that unless they're not playing OU, they can score the football. Michigan has shown the world when they're not playing OU, they can score the football. Temple, when they're not playing against OU, they're a 50-point-a-year team. So in their respective, level, right, that's a quality team. And again, I think that speaks to where OU is as a program. I think that speaks to our defensive coordinator being one of the best, if not the very best in college football. And schematically, when we get into position groups and things of that nature, I want to talk about what he did that I noticed very clearly in the first half that just ruined any opportunity for Temple to get chemistry, to get momentum, just because of how he handled the first 5 possessions of the game. It was genius. I was on Twitter yesterday. If you follow me on Twitter, I was on Twitter speaking to some of the things that he was doing, because every possession, the defense looked different. The fronts looked different. Sometimes we pressured in key downs. The other times we showed pressure, didn't pressure. Other times we just lined up and say, beat us. Other times we lined up off and soft and say, we're going to let you, throw underneath. We're going to rally to the ball. They couldn't get a bead on how to handle third down, second down, because every single possession, he was either in a different front, a different package. They had a different philosophy, where they were going to get the ball out of your hands fast, where they were going to overload the throwing shoulder, whether they're going to play off and soft, whether they're going to show it early and get out of it, show it early and bring it. I mean, it makes it very difficult for an offense to gain chemistry. And again, that's a tribute to our coach saying, hey, my strength's defense. Yeah, I'm the CEO of the team, but I'm also probably the best defensive coordinator in America. Chest out, by the way, right? And the kids playing, or those young men playing for him. Big deal. Solid win. Want to see us. How do you go? Kobe Bryant used to always say, the reason I knew I was the best player in the league by year 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 was because every summer I went and worked on my weaknesses. Most of my opponents every summer and went and worked on their strengths. So what I really want to see is, how is OU going to handle success and push to get from the 98th percentile to the 99th percentile, the 99.02 percentile to the 99.06 percentile? What does that 4/100th of a percent look like, and who's willing to do the work to get there? That's what creates champions.
D-Mac, I think that's a fantastic point, given where the team is at this year. A year ago, you could just see it as fans. The team was so far away from a talent and just wealth of just bodies that can get the job done on the offensive side of the ball, that you really just tried to – if you're struggling just to get first downs and that's your objective offensively, it's going to rub off on the defense. You're going to have just issues as a team. You're not going to have a chance to be in the championship mix. This team this season, looking around the country, looking at these other teams also playing college football, there are some good ones out there. You look at LSU, you look at Oregon, you look at Ohio State, what they're doing. But
let's revisit LSU in a couple weeks.
That'll be interesting, man.
I think revisit that in a couple weeks.
Yeah, but either way, Oklahoma is squarely in the mix from what they have done thus far. I think one of the biggest feathers in their cap on the defensive side of the ball, and really what's attributed to the success that they have had, is that defensive line. And that's where we're going to start as far as breaking down the schematics go. That defensive line has just been so good at getting pressure, specifically interior pressure. Between Dominic Williams and Jaden Jackson, they have blown stuff up. This is now 2 games straight, and really Illinois State might have done the best job, actually, that they are blowing up the center and guard almost every play. That they are putting the center of the opposing team in the lap of the quarterback on a regular basis, D-Mac. And I'll get to – I want you to discuss sort of how that breaks that down. But the OU's not even having to stunt a whole lot. They're doing a little bit here and there. And I imagine when they get into SEC play, that'll get elevated. But Jaden Jackson, I think he's gotten stronger from an offseason ago. I believe when he came in as a true freshman, he was already strong and well put together. He looks ready to go. I'd be curious to see where he'd be slotted if he was able to declare for the draft this year, and how he would test out from a strength standpoint, because he's so good with leverage. He's so good with his hands. He rarely plays high. You know, that's one of the most important things as a defensive lineman is, can you keep your eyes up? Can you use your hands? Can you keep your eyes where they need to be without having to and not lose track of what you're doing here with the guard or the center? And are you explosive in your first step? And he is so good with that. You look at the depth they've built with Dominic Williams. You're not even talking about Grayson Halton very much this year, and he's been a guy who OU thinks they can, you know, really add some depth with, and a guy who's probably going to be an NFL guy as well. And then out on the edge, RMT is going to be suspended for the first half of this next game. That's a huge blow. I don't want to undersell that. That's going to matter, even if it matters. If one possession can be the difference in a game, it's going to matter. And against Auburn, who knows? The Auburn's going to come out swinging. You know, Jackson's going to have a chip on his shoulder. But you're seeing other guys step up. You know, Taylor Wine has consistently shown that he can get the job done. He has really solid bend as well. Not of the RMT persuasion, but still very, very good. And then you saw other guys, Wyatt Gilmore getting to the action late. OU, it's good to see them comfortably putting the lead up on teams, so players like that are able to get an opportunity and still play some meaningful snaps. But D-Mac, just from a defensive line standpoint and how that has impacted the opposition, going back to Illinois State and then Michigan, of course, but then this past week against Temple, who has put points up on everybody. Well, what are your thoughts of just where the D-line is as a whole right now, and what do you think the ceiling looks like, I think, for this unit?
Yeah, they're just as good as anybody in America. I watched a lot. I didn't even work out yesterday. I watched football all day. I wanted to get there were some really good games to watch. Obviously, we played early, so we decided not to post game pod right after the game. And so I said, okay, let me just really study our opponents. And I wanted to see as many games of our opponents as I could. I watched Texas. I watched Ole Miss. I watched Bama. I didn't watch much of Bama. I watched Tennessee. I watched a lot of games. But we're as good as anybody in America. Now, the interesting thing is our most ballyhooed player is RMT, and I would say not that he's underwhelmed, but we've been in games where he hasn't really been able to show off his skill set. But on the contrary, our first 3 or 4 D tackles, it's listen to me. If Jaden Jackson, Jaron, there I go again. If Jaden Jackson comes out this year, he's a first round draft pick. People who understand the position and what you're asking your zero tech, or just anywhere from 0 to 3 tech to do, depending on if he's in a shade, in a gap, or over a guy. I haven't seen anyone in any game consistently block him 1v1. Any center or any play side guard. I haven't. Yep. Consistently. Granted, there are games where they've worn down and you can see he gets tired. There are games, I'm talking about last year's film, right? I think it's very obvious he got stronger. Most players gain or start to disseminate away from their boy strength to grown man strength their second off season. That's when it starts to happen. You come in, you play a season, and then that off season afterwards is really when you see a huge difference. My body looked totally different after my redshirt season, which is why I attributed it to me playing as a redshirt, because I was like, oh, I got muscles, and I was just a transformation. And so I presume he's had a lot of strength accolades, or measures that have increased dramatically. I think it's really important to speak to Stone. I think it's really important to speak to Halton, because twofold. One, Stone brings something no one else brings. Stone can get skinny. Stone can play with power, and Stone can play with finesse. I was having a conversation with Lance, And I said, man, we're texting. I said, Stone made a play like Tommy. And El Mitch was like, bro, don't you dare. Don't you dare. And I said, no. I'm not even saying there's a comp as in total body of work. But what I was saying is there were things that Tommy could do that the other defensive line on our team just couldn't do. Tommy was probably the strongest player on the team as a sophomore. Top 5, top 3 as a freshman. And let me tell you, we had a strong ass team. Like those guys, we didn't have linebackers 275 for reps at 10-12, plenty of linemen 315 for reps at 10-12. Like we have some strong dudes, right? Tommy came in there and was a hoss. Stone has the ability to make the wow play, get skinny, or play the angles, have a double team think he's going to do something else and slide in between it to split it. And it's not even just power all the time. It's finesse. It's an innate attribute that some people just have, and it's helped him just be a phenom on a play-to-play basis. Not necessarily consistently every play yet, but when he's got a Dom, a Jaden, and a Halton where he can come in and flash for 2 plays and go on the sideline, and then come in for a possession and gets an entire possession off. And now he's coming back in, and his RPMs are at 85, 90, 95% when he's on the field. He can go and be a high-caliber D tackle. I wouldn't say we're the number 1 D line in America because we haven't gotten enough edge pressure yet. But I would say we are as good as anybody, and equally versus the run and the pass, those guys are dangerous. Not having RMT is going to hurt for 2 quarters. Thank God Wine has stepped up and is being a good player. By the way, I think we have to speak to Marvin Jones Jr.
Yeah, man.
In the telecast, they say, "Oh, we haven't said his name much." Well, you must have just been watching glory plays, because even before the play, he makes a play on the edge. He was in the backfield and forcing them to get out of stuff, move fast, make things happen early and out of rhythm. And I think he's a guy who's come to OU, found a niche, and I think he's a guy who's going to minimally get a cup of coffee, especially if we continue to keep winning, just because he's a guy who has flashed. He really has. And so as a unit, best unit on the team. I think that goes without saying. I will say this, as a unit, the linebackers played exceptional yesterday. Sam Yobe had his best game of the season, bar none. Very strong in his fits, very instinctual in some of those option plays where he's required to have a 2-way go and really linking into where the quarterback's going to be and putting himself in position. Kip was Kip of last year yesterday. Kip dominated in his drops, taking away some second level stuff, but going forward and going lateral, he looked like the proverbial alpha SEC dude at backer, and it was really good to see. I know I jumped to backer a little bit, but I just wanted to speak to just the run fits and here's what it is, to be honest with you, bro. It's BV's preparation for whatever their stuff is. I gotta digress. Let me step back. Let me say something else. This is the thing that I think I want to make sure people don't miss.
Get after it.
When you are playing an opponent, there is an entire plan that is predicated based upon film, data, statistics, analysts going over and combing through years worth of stuff, habits, right? Tendencies, things of that nature. The coordinator crafts a plan. By the way, the plan isn't just like, what's the best plays or who's our studs or like what coverages do, like that's the data, right? Like those are components of data. It's how you use it. Right. And I didn't watch hours upon hours of Temple film. I watched enough to be dangerous. Right. If I needed to speak about some of their guys or some of their tendencies, I needed to be able to competently express my thoughts without sounding ignorant to not preparation. Our defense was very clearly in tune with what they were wanting to do. Now watch this. Go back and watch Illy State. We were way more in tune for Temple than we were Illy State. You know why? Because I know how OU does it. They did not scheme Illy State. They lit enough to make sure that they would have their bases covered. They stayed vanilla. They were scheming Michigan. We talk about this on the pod every fall.
Just play
You're
straight
week
up.
0, week 1 opponent. We play our stuff. Go make plays. You could tell because we have such a competitive conference schedule, right? And you could tell. I guarantee you, BV is like, do I still got it? Not from the standpoint of insecurity. But from the standpoint of that edge, I guarantee you he used Temple as a scrimmage or a precursor or a rehearsal to how he's going to game plan for conference, because it's not an accident when you run stuff and there's a guy on you, or they run stuff, excuse me. Right? Think about Illy State. There was a little bit of space. You know what I'm saying? There was some stuff, especially before the quarterback got hurt. It was like, if they could have, he could have. Against Temple, there was nothing. Guys knew where to be. They knew what to do. They knew their depths. They knew which hip to take. Like, they knew their stuff. And again, going back to just, like, we could talk position groups, but just talking the strategy of the game, guys, go back and watch the first 5 defensive possessions. First possession, we show pressure, we come. The second possession, we show pressure. By the way, we come again. The third possession, we don't even show pressure. We're just like, we're gonna line up, figure it out. The fourth possession, we show pressure, we don't come. The fifth possession, we play off. Think about being the OC and you're like, okay, based upon what they did last time, what they're gonna do this time, then boom, they show you something totally different. You're like, oh shit. And then you're like, okay, well, they showed us this and they showed us that. And they're like, okay, so they're either gonna do this or that. And then the third time, boom, you show them something other, totally different. And then the fourth possession, you're like, okay, we know they can come. They might not come. They might play straight up. Boom, now you're off. So they're trying to throw a quick game. They're trying to do screens. Everybody's off and can see it now, so the screen doesn't work. The OC's like, what the H is going on? That is top tier. That's not guessing anymore, right? That's a strategic plan that's in place that says, I've been playing chess. It looks like you're kind of the one playing checkers, OC. And I said it in the game on Twitter, and I'll say it on our pod. That was definitely a pro tip how-to for the rest of the conference. The rest of the conference is going to see that and say, oh, shit. OU is not going to just on 3rd and long bring it. They're not just going to 3rd and long act like they're bringing it, not bringing it. They're not just going to 3rd and long play man. They're not just going to 3rd and long play zone. They're not just going to 3rd and long play off. Oh, they're not going to always play bump. What the hell are they going to do? It's the OC's job to figure it out. It makes life difficult for the opposition. And that was something just watching. It just made me smile because that was BV in his bag when I was here. Right? We always talk about it. Mike wanted to play man. 3rd down, we need to play man and bring pressure. BV would be like, nope, I want guys to be able to see the football, and I want the quarterback to have to think. And I think at that time, they're 27, 28 years old. Like, they're young lads. But you see that, that residue. You see the remnants of that on this team. And again, I don't want to get too crazy today because, we played well. But again, if the standard is now great, Coach BV, I want to see pushing for championship. Pushing for excellence. I want championship to roll off their tongue, and they mean it. And when we watch the film, watch the game, we see it. That's the OU that I played for, and that's the OU I think we have the potential to see this season.
Man, I'm curious on the rewatch. I can't wait to see it. It's clear that OU has a top 15 in terms of players they're going to run with on the defensive side of the ball. And when the twos were in there, even a Jaden Hardy, got to see some of him towards the end of the game. It's not even an athleticism thing. When you watch it, the top 15 guys who they're rolling out there, it is a confidence and IQ thing. It is how quick that trigger is happening. There's no thinking. Last year, or at least this offseason, when Stutzman was leaving, I remember you saying that Stutzman's going to be it's a hard hit to take, but he served his time at Oklahoma, did a great job, but the backer unit still has a chance to do a great job just by nature of one, the leadership that Stutzman left, the example that he set. That's big. I don't think that can be overstated. When you have a culture in a room and players who have been around that culture, then Kip and Sammy are like, oh, what? That's how Stutzman did it. Stutzman was pretty good. He's doing good in the league. And we were really successful at backer, played good football. Those players see that and they go, that's what I want to do and that's who I want to be. It is so clear that BV has found players who are physical, who have a quick trigger, quick IQ, and he's found guys who aren't just, they're not limited into what they can do, D-Mac. And I think that has been the biggest transformation on this defense, is that you had so many players who were one-trick ponies in terms of, that they can get forward and play the run, but they can't move their feet. Or they're great in the pass, but if they're having to play a guard, they're going to get blocked, they're going to get pancaked and put on the ground. And he's found guys who can do all of that. It's clear, too, he has a system with how he's working some of these guys in. We've now seen a lot of guys come into the program. A Sammy O comes to mind, Reggie. Guys, there's players who are going to end up being a linebacker type where BV just kind of moves them around positionally a little bit. We didn't know where Sammy O was going to fit. Was he the quintessential cheetah? Was he a middle linebacker? Was he a willie backer? Like, where did he fit? And because BV has done such a good job, and that staff as a whole, in identifying talent and identifying guys who on film have very quick feet, accelerate really fast, are very decisive. That's the stuff that you got to have an eye for the film to be able to see. And OU finally has a plethora of guys like that at backer. The improvement that McKenzie has had, what they saw with McKenzie on the high school tape, and what they've been able to marry his feet to, right? Because he needed that's been a massive upgrade for Oklahoma as well. I want to go down some of these stats, D-Mac, because this is what I'm talking about in terms of just like laying the clamps down on a team where offensively Temple might be closest to what you're going to see in the SEC this season in terms of some of the stuff they were running, what they were trying to do. But so far this year, you've got 6.3 points per game allowed for Oklahoma. The first time not allowing 14 points through the first 3 games since 2007. That's huge. Anytime you hold a team to 105 total yards, you're doing something right. Temple has 7 first downs. Yes, there are spots where you can look and say, you got to clean that up. Guys were open right here. And there were a few plays. But you want to dominate the opponent, and you want to just fully envelop everything that they're doing and have an answer. So I want to go back to the backers real quick, D-Mac, because I think we knew the D-line was going to be good. And through just the nature of recruiting and then bringing in a freshman like Guillory, this is the point that you were kind of making. Teams are going to try to pick on him because when you have a 10 other guys who are so high IQ, seasoned in the system, it does take a little pressure off of that guy. But, man, when you go into a game like Auburn, and Auburn has a couple receivers who they can throw it for, that's where you have to have some maturity about you, but you also got to have some depth on the team and the ability to throw a Jacoby out there if Forrest struggling, to put a Bowen out there, maybe if you need a little bit different look. So I want to go back to the backers, though. The ability for them to just do everything that is asked from a physical standpoint, but then also it seems like that they also know and understand the game plan more this year than in the past few years, and that trigger is so quick. They are on top of things before the offense has a chance to get anything going. And there were moments where they had pressure up the A gap, they had pressure on the edge, coming from all different places, and it was almost overwhelming for the offense. So just in terms of what the backers' improvement in that room has been, and how they can take that next step, what do you see from a just technical aspect that has really just allowed OU to garner the early success that they have?
Yeah, I think there's 2 things to consider again. Number one, 4 dudes who can start. So the oars were real, right? We all saw the depth chart a week or two before the season started. The oars were real. Owen Heineke is for real. Samuel has progressed. This first week, he pissed me off. And it didn't look good to me. And then Michigan, that's a good opponent. He played well enough, and then he played really well this yesterday. Again, I think it speaks to 3 years in the program. But what I want to do, Barry, is critique, because I want to go from great to championship. All right. So here's, if I'm an OC and I am game planning OU, number one, I'm in 11 personnel. I put my tight end in the slot. So now I've got double slots. And when you do that, it puts Mike on the running back. And now I ISO McKenzie, especially if I've got a strong O-line. And I ISO McKenzie on wheel routes. I'm running a double post to one side or a double slant to one side. It's probably a double bang 8 post, a slant with a bang 8 post, and I'm running a wheel behind it to see if McKenzie can run with my running back. I am doing shallow concepts, and I'm leaking my running back down the sideline. Why? I say that because, again, on Saturday, the one area where McKenzie is going to struggle is if he has to turn laterally and go against a running back who has a very high skill set. You're going to see a ton of those in the SEC, a ton of them, right? Kip played a very, very sound Saturday, but we've seen for all of the seasons that he's been involved that sometimes he either guesses, or I don't know if he's not gap sound for one gap. I don't know if it's one or the other, but he was extremely on point yesterday, and so was Sammy. So it tells me that the plan was really tight, but I've seen Kip before just be in the wrong gap. And I don't know if he had a two-way go and he had the opportunity to wrong shoulder or spill, and he chose one and nobody came to support him, or if he missed his gap. But here's what I know about BV, and I think this will speak to the D-line too, Barry. BV doesn't like a bunch of rah-rah football. It's why I don't believe we will ever, I wouldn't say ever, it's very unlikely we have some of those DNs that have 12, 13 sacks in a season. Here's why. Because BV just wants you to kill your gap. Mm-hmm. And BV believes his plan is going to have a free runner. As you guys saw, Powers was a free runner. We saw Gilmore, right? I believe we bring Powers and Gilmore another time, and the tackle took inside threat, which was a safety, and Gilmore got a clean shot, right? And so, by the way, go back and watch the film in the past. More often than not, BV says the system will create dudes at the line of scrimmage, especially run game, blitz game, the offensive line and the blockers in the backfield's ability to pick up the blitzes. He's not necessarily saying, let's queue up RMT. He's not necessarily saying, RMT, go make a play. He's calling a scheme that's going to put somebody in a position to come through, and when you come through, make the play. So I think that's really pertinent to say. And it leads me to believe that sometimes Kip guesses, because I don't believe there's very many times where BV says you get a two-way go. Right? That's not really his identity as a DC. His identity is 0, kill the A gap, 3, kill the play side A gap, right? Crash in, kill the B gap, back or fold, C gap, safety, alley, right? That's like if they run something backsided, everybody has a gap, kill your gap. Mm-hmm. Okay. So just to say that, 4 really good dudes. And then you have a spinner in Daniels, which we saw in the depth chart. He can play in a pickle. That's what you need, right? It's been a lot of years where we've had 2 or 3 really good backers and then 1 injury, and there's a huge hole. McKenzie's freshman year comes to mind. Stutz gets hurt. McKenzie's a true pup or a redshirt pup, one of the two. I'm thinking about I want to say Kansas game, I think is the game that it is 2 seasons ago. By the way, McKenzie plays well. Kip is also asked to step up in that game too. But we didn't have that quality depth, that season depth, that program building depth that we now have. That's a big deal. And it's really going to help our guys as the season goes along. I think we could say, hey, if any of those 4 guys have to play because there's an injury, I don't think we see a ton of drop-off. I think Kip has the highest floor of all of them. Kip has the highest floor. I think he probably has the highest ceiling too, but all those other guys are like starter quality players on any team in the SEC. I think Owen Heineke's a guy that's proven. I don't care what college we're talking about in the SEC. He's a guy getting game reps every game. Like, I think he's proven to us, and then obviously we'll have a chance to up that. But the critique piece is to put him in situations where he's got to be on money downs. The critique piece is McKenzie in space. The critique piece is, can Sammy O consistently do it? Sammy O's another one. I'd put him in a bunch of different, I'd put 2 tights to his side. I'd put 2 wides to his side. I'd counter his way. I'd have end arounds going backside. I'd have bend backs to him just because I want to see how he reacts to different looks. He's a guy who has shown a lot of space. And I wouldn't say mental loafs, but a semi-mental bust, meaning he doesn't know his assignment all the time. And just watching the film, you can see it. Again, not speaking to Saturday, I'm just critiquing greatness versus championship, right? If we're going to be championship level, can those guys consistently be their top?
Yeah, no, I think the secondary is really going to be the biggest part to, getting into the meat of this SEC schedule. Venables didn't downplay not having turnovers, but he also is not making it a gimmick, right? Like the previous DCs had, because you can't have your guys out there thinking so hard about turnovers are a product of playing good football, and they're also a product of just a little bit of luck, right? The deflection in the end zone, everything was done really well on that play. You get the pressure, you get the deflection, and if a guy is just one more step closer, it's a touchdown in the end zone off of a tip ball. So you want those to come. You imagine they will. How perfect in a game against Jackson Arnold would it be to pick him off a couple times?
Oh, he's going to give us the ball. We're going to get a turnover against Jackson.
I'm sure
Mando. That's Mando.
I'm sure Sooner Faithful would really enjoy that. And when it comes to secondary, and we'll talk about this in our pregame lead up to this one, this is going to be a big deal. Venables is going to be able to get into his bag when it comes to just knowing the opponent. It's going to be so interesting to see, having had Jackson on campus for as long as he did and having such a firm understanding of what he likes, what he doesn't like, what he's good at, what he's not good at. It will be fascinating to watch that game plan unfold. But from a secondary standpoint, D-Mac, the tackling has been really solid. There were a handful of plays where you had guys not wrap up. I believe going right to left, there was a running back who had one, got a little bit into the secondary and just wasn't wrapping up. Yeah. And that is, regardless who it is, that kind of stuff will cost you in the SEC. You gotta limit first downs, you gotta limit yards, you gotta be able to handle business. But from a tackling standpoint, Boganowski has been very good. Even gets the sack this past game, and he was looking to kill that quarterback, man. I posted on X, like, you can tell that he has been told in practice, like, you gotta chill when you're coming in on a kill shot like that, man, because he had a full kill shot ready to go. If he wanted, he could have decapitated that young man. But RSJ has tackled well. Cortland Guillory has been a consistent, wonderful piece. He can't be Gorilla Nuts player of the game every single week, and in this one, there are other guys who stepped up. But, man, his consistency has been something that I think Sooner fans should appreciate. He's had some moments where things haven't gone as well, but he tackles so well. He plays very physical. He plays really good with his hands. His eyes are really good. He can bait the quarterback. There's a lot of really cool things that he's doing. A lot of veteran things that he's doing in terms of playing the position, and his feet are so solid. You get a Jacoby sighting, and this one's good to see big bodies out there playing in the secondary. Jacoby is a guy, D-Mac, who OU is going to absolutely need down the stretch. Yep. When you go play some of those receivers against Missouri, Alabama, who we'll talk about probably midweek, Florida State is a good team. And I think come mid-season and into season, Alabama's going to be one of those schools that we're going to look up and say that Florida State loss was not near as bad as it looked, and Alabama is figuring things out, because I think they are. And you're going to need all those bodies for Oklahoma in the secondary. But I think what the cool thing was in this one was just how well Venables mixed up the pressures using his DBs in this game. And that's what I want to talk about most to kind of get started on this unit was just the way Boganowski got downhill, right? The way Powers was getting downhill from different spots, killing. He that's a Gorilla Nuts Player of the Game nominee potentially.
Whoa,
So,
see, I'm trying to stay incognito, and here you go. I'm trying to, man, see.
so talk about the. That's funny.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't say it back. Don't say it back. Don't say it back.
So talk a little bit about just the pressure from the secondary, because I think this is the best set of blitzing, pressure setting defensive backs that Oklahoma has had in probably a decade, in terms of guys who can get home on those and actually convert and kill the yards.
I think first things first, it needs to be said, it's the best recruiting we've had in 15, 20 years. And so when you recruit better dudes, longer dudes, faster dudes, more athletic dudes, and they stay in the program, we have not seen a ton of turnover at that position. It bodes well. And we have dudes at those positions who can play enforcers and be top shelf athletes at said positions. And so to see Boggs out there literally flying around like a heat-seeking missile, I got to tell you guys, and I don't care what anybody says, to me, the best two safeties so far this season have been RSJ and Powers. Powers played 80% of the cheetah snaps in that game, maybe 90% of the cheetah snaps, and was a force. It tells me he could play strong safety. That takes nothing away from Peyton. Peyton also played well yesterday. And again, I try to articulate the importance of the understanding of the scheme. And I'm just telling people the reason there is no space, meaning guys catch balls and have a lot of room, and that's how you can get juked, and that's how you can get, shake out your draws, as the guys say, right? Whatever they can make you miss. It's because there's space. When there's no space, generally it's pretty simple to tackle guys after they catch the football. And so that is a tribute to BV. But OU just has better athletes now. OU has safeties that look like safeties. Powers looks like a safety we would have seen at Georgia 5 years ago. He does. RSJ has always, since his second year starting, looked like a dude who could be starting anywhere in America. Gullery is a guy who could be starting anywhere in America, right? And then you've got Boggs, and then you've got Dobie coming back, and then you've got Jacoby. Jacoby, by the way, I heard a rumor, and I'm going to say it, and it's not the best, but the rumor is he would start if he had more dog in him. Big, strong, fast, and physical when he wants to be. I guess physical when he's challenged. Mm-hmm. But if not challenged, he will kind of just be chill versus play with edge intentionally or independently, meaning on his own. And so that's going to be a thing to see, because when he comes in the game, the defensive secondary gets way longer, way more athletic. And again, it takes away that pre-snap, right? Who's the one guy we're going to take advantage of pre-snap? It takes it away. Here's the other thing. Am I a dodo brain? Guys, am I a dodo brain? 15's Dobie, isn't it?
Yeah.
How did I not?
Got some stat. Yeah.
How did I forget? Like that just shows you how long it's been since I've seen him. Like, who the hell is 15? Who is? I'm looking like, who the hell? Duh, it's freaking Dobie. So Dobie got some run. And he was playing a little soft at the beginning. He was, and by the way, he looks 5'10" and a half-ish. When you get longer, leaner guys, use that difference. Dobie, by the way, Dobie looks good in the slot. I said it 2 weeks ago. He does not look better than Powers in the slot, and Powers does not look as good as KD in the slot. So, like, when you raise the talent, it provides that added depth. And I'm grateful that Dobie is our third or fourth corner and could be our third cheetah. Like, think about that. Like, he was our best cheetah last year, and this year he could be our third cheetah, and you're not losing much. Or he could be our third or fourth corner, and you got a dude who's played a bunch of snaps. That's why the secondary is the way it is. Peyton goes down, Boggs comes in. You know what I'm saying? If RSJ goes down, Powers is now a safety. Like, I guess I do need to critique Hardy I really liked you last year. What happened to your tackling?
Yeah.
Throwing your helmet around and throwing shoulder. By the way, the play where he that's a target, whatever. They didn't call it, cool. He can play next game. But he had 2 other plays where he just throws a shoulder instead of wrapping up. Like, you're a safety, son. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't go out there and you throw a shoulder and somebody bounces off of it. It's a touchdown.
Yeah.
And the biggest run play they had is a play. You spoke to it. They were coming around the right-hand side. He kind of slips through McKenzie, or I don't remember which backer it is, but the backer's fighting through some stuff to get there. Hardy has a clean shot, and he just throws a shoulder. And, that kind of pissed me off, because that's kind of like selfish. Like, dude, your defense is championship good. When it's your opportunity to make the play, you've got to go out there and make the damn play, period. And that's just effort. That's just tech. That's a technique deal. That's not like the guy's bigger than you and ran you over. That's not like the guy ran away from you because he's a better athlete. You were there and you didn't wrap. You didn't bring hips. You didn't bring shoulders, right? You didn't get your head across. All the different things that safeties especially are required to do. Come on, Nine. By the way, somebody asked me if I was watching the Cowboys game. Hell, Nine. Watching the Cowboys game. Got me all the way messed up. I'm out here in Killer Cali, the Bay Area, watching my Niners. I think we just got the turnover or the sack. Yep. I think we got what we needed to get this
Either
dub.
way, the Giants are cooking right now.
Let's go. What's the score?
30-27 New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, but listen,
it's like under a minute left. The Dallas is. Well, we'll see what happens.
One of my very best friends is their receiver coach.
Oh, yeah.
Cool stuff. 15 years ago, he was the coach. I want to say Alcorn. Some school we played, like 2006.
Oh, Dallas just scored.
There you go. Hopefully, was it a pass?
Yeah.
Was it Pickens?
Oh, man. No, yeah, George Pickens.
That's my fantasy. Come on.
There you go.
No, but DBs, I don't have a lot of critiques, Barry, except to say, I hope Jacoby is available when we start playing longer teams.
Agreed.
And really, I hope they're just giving Gentry a chance to just heal up, because you got Gullery and Gentry. I'm just here to tell you, I feel really good about that. And our safeties, I think we have one of the best safety groups in America. Now, Boggs is a body hawk. Like, he's going to hunt who he can kill. We need a ball hawk. And I thought it was going to be Peyton. We need somebody who, when people are playing the second and third level, they have a feel from watching film, a feel from knowing player habits, where they're going to run that 18-yard dig, cut across. They're going to run that skinny post, right? Shuffle in front of it. They're going to run that deep fade. You can get to the sideline and help support your corner and make a play on the ball. Somebody on the defense has got to show us that they're that guy, and I think that's Peyton Bowen. I want to see him start doing it in the game.
Yeah, I think that's the next level of this defense, man. If they can start forcing turnovers and convert some of that, get some strips. This team, though, from a technical standpoint, just their ability to tackle, their ability to stay with their man, like just the general basic premises of football, right? Just limiting airspace. And I totally agree with you on Jacoby. He is a guy, man, that when you get into these SEC games and it's second and goal at the goal line and they got a big body receiver and they can just say, oh, who's out there? 15, 4, right? That Jacoby is a situational nightmare in terms of just the matchup, right? It's so much harder when a guy's got long arms, some height, and some strength and some weight behind it, man. It's a much tougher test to get that ball caught cleanly and to be able to come down with it. Totally with you on Powers. I think Powers is I won't quite say this, but he's close to being like one of the fastest on the team in closing distance. I said that first.
Can I make a hot take?
Go for it.
I think he'll this. And by the way, I don't have a ton of data. This is just my eyeballs. This is an RSJ kit 2 years early. I think he'll be the best safety we've had in a very long time when he graduates. What does he have? 2 more seasons after this one? Potentially?
I think 2 more years, yeah.
I think just based upon what I see in terms of aggression, technique, body, if you're telling me he's a phenomenal athlete, he also happens to wear a very sexy men wear 13. I got to tell you, if you wore 13 at OU, you weren't struggling in that department. But I'm just saying, just watching him, and I know, He's a guy you had a relationship with in the past or whatever, but like his ceiling is really high, and the way the game is played now, his body type is really coveted. I don't know if that's a pause, but I'm just speaking in the lens.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Like the 6'1", 215-pound, physical enough to play at the second level, athletic enough to flip the hips, sink, turn, and run. I'm just telling you, that is his body type's a little bit even better than RSJ's. It really is. Like he's a little bit he's a girthier guy.
Yeah.
I think he's a little more explosive.
Yeah.
I think he's a little more foot in the ground explosive too. Those are just attributes you see. So I just want to say a hot take. Assuming he continues to ascend, I think he's a guy who has first or second round talent, especially if the defense keeps playing the way it's playing and OU is playing for conference championships, games of the week, all the notoriety and the pundits at our games, and a guy like that continue to make plays.
Yeah, and in Venables, one of the things he said was, it looks like that defense is out there almost at recess. And I thought that was such a, like, that they're having fun. They're getting to the ball. They're making the, we got some excitement.
I hope you're in a Cowboys fan.
Oh, yeah. The Yep. It's a little wild right now.
Cooked.
Yeah, man. You guys are getting some live
that was
on
mossed.
the air. Yeah.
That was
mossed.
Oh,
buddy. There it is right there.
My bad.
Yeah, they showed it again. Man, poor Jerry Jones, brother.
They got 25 seconds. Let's hope.
Hey, man, neighbors. Who did he play for in college? LSU?
LSU.
Yeah, that's what I thought, man. He is, boy, those guys can run, man.
Oh, my God.
Anyways, I thought Venables, just the way he's viewing it, and the way you're seeing the team play defense as a unit, as a team, it's just exciting. You haven't seen it. It's different. It's not gimmicky. There are things foundationally that have taken place that's the reason they're playing well. No, we spent a lot of time on that, but I think it deserved that kind of time. Yep. Let's move over to the offense, D-Mac. And there was some good. There was some bad. There was a couple of moments, too, that weren't so great. They're kind of on the ugly variety. But Mateer is doing what a quarterback has to do when you go into an away game. Everything is different. You're in a different stadium, different atmosphere. I won't say that the whole crowd was against him. It wasn't a raucous crowd, to say the least.
It was mainly OU, bro. The crowd was mainly
OU. But I will say that he was impressive in just handling business, right? You go out there. There were some things that he missed that I want to talk about that against an SEC opponent might eventually cost you, and you got to be careful with that. Blaylock looks like running back number one. He blocks well. He runs behind his pads. The truck stick he hit at the goal line on his first score of his career, man, that was really impressive. That's one of those, like, him not going down that's a big boy move. That's I know I'm scoring. I know I'm going to get the touch, but I'm not even going to let you pull me to the ground. I'm going to big dog you all the way through the end zone and get right into my celebration. Receivers, man, Satania he's got some wiggle. I don't know if OU's had a receiver with some make you miss like that in a minute. He's not necessarily the speedster explosive like a Burks potentially could be, but man, you see the wiggle, you see the side to side. He has a really good feel of space, which is why I think he's been good with returning the punts. I thought it was really impressive, the punt that he got on the roll. I know it's more special teams, but the one that hopped up to him that he took down the sideline, to me that was an impressive play.
I loved it.
That was a one. I know he muffed the punt, but that's getting confidence back. That's playing your game. That's not thinking. That's just playing football. That was I'm an athlete. I'm going to catch this ball and do something with it. So thought that was really impressive. But the receivers as a unit are doing a really solid job. On the offensive line, you had some guys not playing, and it showed. There is, having now seen seeing one guy in week 1, seeing another guy in week 2, and then seeing week 3 again, back to the guy who played week 1, at left tackle, there is a stark difference between Howland and Fasusi. And that's no shade on Howland, because I thought for the most part he actually did a pretty good job. But they matched him up against a bigger edge guy every now and again. And Howland has some moments where it was tough. And there was some initial pressure on Mateer off that edge. And it just comes down to the physical traits, the physical makeup of Howland, and just areas where he is limited and Fasusi's just not. Fasusi has a different gear that he can hit, a different level that he can play at. And Howland is phenomenal depth. He's a guy you're going to need down the stretch when you get into SEC play. But Fasusi is just different. And then tight end D-Mac, 3rd and 19. And Canick's working back, giving John an outlet. This is where that's the kind of stuff. And New York, let's see.
They're about 15 yards away, maybe 10. They got a killer kicker. They may be.
Yeah, well, we'll see how this one goes. But Canick, that's what you want your tight end to be, man. You want a guy who is able to be a safety valve, a safety blanket, some comfort for your quarterback. And how good is it just to be physical enough and explosive enough to find the space? The thing I'm most surprised with Canick on, D-Mac, is not his confidence, because he's always struck me as a confident player. He's always struck me as a guy who feels good about what he's doing, even if what he's doing is incorrect. Like, he is going to do it with everything he's got and is going to bring it no matter what. But his ability to find the spot in coverage, especially when plays break down, he has some natural feel to
You're
space.
Surprised by that?
I'm surprised at how good it's been. Because I knew he could run with the ball. I knew he had some explosiveness to him, but I mean, I don't know if there's another tight end in America who has done a better job this season thus far compared to Canick, right? And I've watched quite a few. Florida State has a guy that's pretty good. But there's another guy. And then you got the guy at Michigan's pretty solid.
Well, listen. Different teams ask their tight ends to do different things.
There you go.
I'm not surprised about the natural field Canick possesses and all that. And again, if you go back and from the time we found out, I said the things he may be able to possess is the fact that he's an offensive player, right? Like, that's what he played prior to playing at OU. We tried to make him into a backer. He was a kid who was comfortable running with the football, catching the football, possessing the football. So I'm not surprised. I will say it. By the way, Dallas made the kick. I will say that
there we go.
His natural catching ability.
Really good.
I didn't know. By the way, he's all about thumbs up, thumbs down, and like a natural catcher of the ball catches with the diamond up, diamond down, right? Thumbs or pinkies, and he's very good at it. And that just means he's going to naturally catch the football. I don't want to speak to him too much just because he played well. We said on our show going into it, I wouldn't be surprised. I remember when everybody was downplaying the position, and I said, Canick on the field is a mismatch. And by the way, it's gonna bode extremely well for us in SEC play, because teams now know dude can cook, and we can't just someone has to watch him.
Yeah, you can't just play him straight up. You got to have a plan.
There's got to be something. And then Arbuckle showed that we can now feature our slot. We hadn't featured Satania a ton the first 2 games. They featured Satania. I think he led us in catches yesterday, 7 or 8 catches. And so that's another big thing.
97 yards. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Kid played well. I think he's going to be a good player for us. Here's what good, great, championship. I have to critique hardcore on offense. I like your point. When you've got a Howland as a second-year guy who is your bona fide backup, I think that bodes well for the offensive line and building quality depth. Because Fasusi is head and shoulders just more athletic. To be very succinct and direct around what you're speaking to, the fact is Fasusi can get to the spot faster than Howland, therefore cutting angles and waist bending. When you're just trying to get to your spot while the guy is covering up the air on you, you've got to bend at the waist to try to get them unless they choose to run right into you. Fasusi can get there comfortably and still have ability to extend and get his hands out. Howland can't. There's one play in the third quarter, guy runs right around him. Right. And I mean, it's and by the way, it's not his fault. I think that Howland is a +2 at a place like OU. If we have an injury, the season isn't over because he is serviceable. But thank God we're upping our recruiting on the offensive line because Fasusi is a guy who it's not even a question. I was just watching the Michigan. Sorry. I was watching the Michigan tape again. I muted myself. He is just beating the D lineman to the spot, and he has the ability to extend. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Trent Williams. I was watching the Niners, and I just like Trent is just such a good athlete. He gets to the spot and says, okay, I'll give you a direction which way you want to go, and I'll just ride you the direction you want to go because I'm strong enough. My arms are long enough to do that. Anyway, yes, here's my critiques. Our quarterback showed kinks in his armor. He should have had 7 or 8 more completions that he missed. Yeah. He missed. And by the way, some second level stuff that he was dotting the I with on Michigan and Ely State, that the play was there. Keontez is running an over route across the formation. He's on the left-hand side as X. He's running in some type of ugly dig over the backers. And it's a beautifully set up play. It's a ball that we saw him hit cash money against Michigan. He just missed him. He's running some slant concepts, and they were running some man and some zone, and so sometimes you sit, sometimes you run through, depending on what they're in, and he's just off, or he's throwing with too much pace, right? We've seen him throw the changeup. He throws the changeup to Barnes across the formation against Michigan. He throws the changeup a couple of times to Kanik on the second level on those sit routes where he's put enough zip, but it's a changeup where it's not a fastball. Some of these fastballs he threw yesterday, it was just kind of like, what's going on? Here's my other critique. Arbuckle was queuing up plays that were designed, and I have a theory, so I'll speak to that next. But Arbuckle was trying to queue up plays to get players the ball versus queuing up progression routes where you read the defense and take what they give you. And so when I saw Mateer start to struggle, and a lot of it's pace, a lot of it, right, he was just inaccurate, whatever. It felt like Arbuckle then started to like pre-snap identify the guy he wanted getting the ball based upon what he thought the defensive coverage would be and who his personnel was in at the receiver position. It felt like, oh, that ball's supposed to go to X. Oh, that ball's supposed to go to Burks. Oh, that ball's supposed to go to Satania. Versus we're going to run levels. We're going to have a guy in front of the backers, a guy behind the backers, and a post, and we're going to leak the running back, read where the defense is giving us, right, the opportunity and take that. It felt like we regressed. And I don't know if it was trust or just the play calling in a sense of where Arbuckle wanted to go with Mateer, and I didn't like that. I felt like we had the game far enough in hand that we should have let him work through his issues, or maybe he said, hey, my arm hurts or something. But it was just like, the game plan turned very – it reminded me of you have a freshman who had this week of practice. So it's not like an injury during game. Injury during game, you're kind of messed. You're kind of screwed, right? But like you had a freshman, quarterback got hurt last game. You had a freshman this week, and you oversimplified the game plan so that you say, hey, when we're in 3-by-1 and you see cover 2 pre-snap, it's probably going to go to this guy. You know what I mean? And so you want your freshman to just have rhythm. It felt like going into this third quarter, and obviously late second, third quarter, when Mateer kind of got into that funk, it felt like we called plays more inclined to ask that of him versus he progress and throw to the open guy. The other thing, again, critique. I felt like there were times where he tried to do too much. Yeah. Sometimes it's okay to throw the ball away and stay clean and not get hit. Sometimes it's okay to get to the damn sideline and step out of bounds, man. We love your toughness. It's super dope. But all of those hits, it just takes one to the kidney. It just takes one to the thigh where you get a thigh bruise that's going to keep you out a week or two. It just takes one to the head or neck. That concussion, we all know what happens to OU players when they get concussions. They don't come back in a week most often.
No,
you
not
might
this deep.
Yeah, I know, right? You might end up like me. And so I I love his aggression. You know what I'm saying? I think it exudes in the team. The team feels a lot of that, but I think there's another side of siding on the side of caution, erring on the side of caution, excuse me, where we've got 8 games, bro, against some dudes that we're going to need you in all 4 quarters. And I don't want you dishing out an extra hit or shaking somebody on the sideline and then getting tackled out of bounds for 3 extra yards versus no hits to your body and taking 3 lesser yards. Those are things that I absolutely want to see him improve upon. And I'd like to see Jackson do the opposite against us, you know what I'm saying? So he can start taking some hits in this upcoming week.
Yeah, there's just some technical things too, man, when it comes to his throwing motion. You touched on the sidearm, but it's more than that. He has a tendency to jump into his throws, which I've seen people critique. That's not always a bad thing necessarily, but you got to know how to do it. One of the guys who historically has been a quote unquote jump thrower was Aaron Rodgers. Aaron, one of the ways he generates so much force out of his lower half is he is almost propelling himself upward and rotating as he's launching the ball. So there's so much transfer of energy, but that's something, man, that takes a lot of work, a lot of time, and you just kind of got to have it, right? And Mateer is a guy who he is at his best when he is in rhythm, when he sets his feet, and when he drives that ball, and when he's got a little bit higher release point on the ball. Well, when he is whipping that sucker sidearm, it does have a tendency to just kind of the velocity sort of dies a little bit, and
you
it
think
dies.
so?
I think so. Yeah, I think it does. I think those are balls he doesn't. When you're throwing sidearm like that, and you're not a guy with just an insanely strong arm, like I'm trying to think, like Patrick Mahomes, I wouldn't say he's in the insanely strong arm category on that, but on the short stuff, he generates good velocity because he knows how to torque his body really well. So he fits him in there. But when Mateer throws sidearm, the passes tend to die right in front of the receiver, or they are just at the end of the, just inaccurate. They don't get to where they need to be, and I think that's going to be a problem when they get into SEC play if he doesn't just pay a little bit more attention to the details on that. Anytime you're changing your rotational vector, if you will, and there's too much variability in your movement, there you have more of a chance for the pass to be off. I know it's kind of digging into the scientific weeds, if you will, but you got to be a real whiz. That's one of the reasons Baker was so good, was regardless of where Baker was, his arm pattern, the trajectory that his arm took was almost the exact same every single time. He drove the ball so well, and he generated so much force from his lower half that it made all the difference in the world when it came to fitting things in. So I think he has a strong arm. I think he plays most of the time on balance. His mobility, his ability to break tackles in the pocket has been even better than what I thought. Again, kind of a guy who that wasn't necessarily a surprise, but he's doing some Baker-esque stuff back there, right? So some things I think Sooner fans thought Jackson could potentially do, and he's getting it done. At the end of the day, though, you're going to need him. He's a guy who is going to be the most important piece on this SEC schedule. He changes
Who do you think's
Oklahoma.
faster? Who do you think's faster, Baker or Mateer? By the way, in the chat, I want to know, who do you guys think's faster? Straight race.
I think Mateer is faster. Having watched him run, I think he's a little bit better strider than Bake was. Bake is a better accelerator. I would say Bake from a dead stop is a lot faster, is a lot more explosive, and he just has a stronger lower half. When it comes to straight line speed, though, I would say Mateer is a faster player. I would say when he was sprinting, I would love to see him kind of dial back that shin angle just a little bit, right? So when he got out into the open field, one of the things, and you actually ran really well. I've watched tape on you. You actually had very good, and that's because you were in track, right? Track helps a ton. Your A skips, your B skips, those help with your balance of where you're landing. When Mateer was sprinting, if he is able to have to land right over the top of his foot when he's hitting what's called your mid stance phase. If his mid stance phase, he was more forward and over the top of his foot. And that's what the kind of stuff they work on when they go do 40 testing and that kind of thing. Like when they really get into the weeds. Go ahead.
I think Baker's faster.
I don't think so. I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Mateer is a better athlete and is a better runner of the football, but he is not impressively fast. I'm just telling you, like, he's not like gonna accelerate and beat somebody. He didn't beat Italy State when he scored a touchdown into his first touchdown of the season. He did not. He had the angle and he took it to the pylon and scored. When he took that one against Temple yesterday, I mean, I didn't see the big difference between him and Baker. He's a better runner. He's a better athlete with the ball. He's a better, like, running back, agility, more wiggle, more natural. But, like, in terms of him, like a foot race, I think it's close. He probably wins by a nose, but I think it's a nose. In terms of him running away from people, that's not good. That's not bad. That's not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not making any point in the sense of like that's a good or bad thing. But here's what I know. I feel like he depends on his athleticism as a part of his package to be an athlete to run. Mm-hmm. In the same way, Baker depends on his athleticism to be an athlete to pass, because Baker would kill you off script, get to the edge, jump over. I remember plenty of plays. Baker's running away from a D tackle, jumps up so the D tackle can't grab his leg, stops and throws a dart. But anyway, I just had to say it. You're probably right. You would know better. But I don't think.
I'll say this: for first 10 yards, Baker cooks him.
I don't think. I bet you Mateer runs 4.7.
They're probably. I bet you he runs a little faster. I bet you he's high 4.6. I bet you he's high 4.6. Yeah.
4.68.
Yeah.
Baker's a 4.72 guy, probably. 4.73.
Yeah.
Mateer's a 4.68. I think, like, for pro day, meaning he trained for it. He's not going to run a 4.51 in any stretch of the imagination. I don't even think he runs a 4.59. If he did, I would throw love and support. But the way he plays like a 4.69, 4.72 QB who's got juice. Yeah. Like, and you would know this. You can tell he's in that weight room. Guys glance off of him versus Bake. I guarantee you Bake was squatting 275 and kind of sipping on a little something on the side. Like, yeah, man, I'll squat a little bit. And I guarantee you Mateer's in there going past 90 with 475.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And so,
going almost 500 is stout for anybody.
Yeah.
Especially a quarterback. Yeah. And the reason he's more agile than Baker was Baker had great foot strength. Baker has some of the strongest feet. When you watch him play, his heels almost never hit the ground. He had so much tendon stiffness and so much just nasty elastic power in his calf and in his Achilles that he was so explosive off his feet. Whereas Mateer plays lower. When he's going to change direction, he's doing it like a crossover in basketball, right? His knee, guys, go watch, he's dragging the toe. The knee's almost hitting the ground. He drops his hips and gets out so good, and that creates advantageous angles, not only the angle of attacking the defender, just hitting the right shoulder, hitting the right hip, but also how low his shin angle is. It's very impressive. Like, he's one of the more impressive wigglers of weird thing to say. But one of the more impressive guys with the ball in his hands.
Wiggler.
That I've seen at OU in the quarterback position. Jason White had some of that before he got hurt. Jason ran a
4.64, bro. Jason White
was he a 4.64?
And would cook. If J-Dub doesn't tear his knees up, J-Dub is Jackson with J-Dub's arm.
Interesting.
Because Jackson is substantially faster than both of them. Give Jackson a corner. Our DB's going to have to go get him.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, I think people commented on the Mateer stride looking weird. It just looks weird because of those front side mechanics, man. Which is funny. I would say Baker's stride was never very long.
Yes.
He was always real choppy.
Yes.
He never opened it up, which is
Correct.
why Mateer would beat him from 20 to 40. Mateer's got him cooked because he's just going to cover more ground. I guarantee you that both of their ground contact times are probably very similar. They're probably, especially at top speed, but Mateer is just going to cover more distance. And if your ground contact time is similar, but one can cover more ground, the one who can cover more ground is just going to be faster. I want to ask you how you thought the receivers played, D-Mac, because doing a lot of cool things on the perimeter. I love the little just kind of that forward lateral, if you will, that they're running on the perimeter.
Jet sweep pass.
The jet sweep, yeah. And
Jet sweep pass.
It's pretty sweet to see just the ability to do something like that to keep the defense guessing, to make those edge players have to be honest, like that they got to stay at home. You're worried about getting the corner on you. And I'll say this too on that, to see the receivers actually have a good feel for that play, because OU's tried to run that in the past. They tried to run it with Luttrell a year ago. Even Levy ran it just a little bit, and they never had success like they're having now. And it has so much to do with, one, just how it's blocked and how it's schemed up and when it's called. But I love seeing the awareness of the receivers. As soon as they have the opportunity to turn that thing north, they are getting upfield and they're making it work for them. But how do you think the receivers played?
Receivers played well. They could have had a much bigger day if we could just play catch. I am excited about seeing how they perform in conference, but I just want to go back to, and I don't want to harp too much, but a lot of it was pre-designed stuff. It was either quick game, throw to the guy, or it was kind of plays designed to get to a guy. Once I saw Mateer overthrow, I don't know if he threw it over or too far in front on that over route for Keontez, I just was like, because he hadn't missed those the first two games. He was hitting those in stride, right? And so that was kind of just a precursor for me for what I saw. And again, I kind of wanted to critique and say, why they didn't throw the fade route more? But they threw him against Michigan. They threw him against Illy State. So it's not like it's not in the bag. Arbuckle has it in his bag. I haven't seen us run a bunch of double post concepts yet, but I haven't seen cover 4 a lot. It's a cover 4 and cover 1 beater. So we'll see, if we get a little bit of that. Wow. Russell Wilson just gave the ball right back. 2 minutes. Dallas is going to win. Calling it now. By the way, they're going to win. Can you throw it to Pickens, please? Can we get Pickens some more juice? Speaking of receivers.
Good receiver there.
The receiver crew's good. I want to see Giovanni Gibson. We've heard so much about him. Obviously, Keontez not being out this week. It'll be interesting to see how they address the rotation there. Carrion is a guy who looks the part. I think he's a guy that over the course of the season, we're going to need him. Ever since he's gotten here, he's always been almost. There's 2 or 3 times where he almost made a really spectacular play. Needs to get over that hump. Make the play. That one-hander was a hard catch, but damn it, everybody's catching the ball one hand now. By the way, coaches practice in drills catching the ball with one hand now. Make the play. And so I want to see him because he's a mismatch. I'm just telling you, if we can figure out a way to harness his abilities and get him in some of those 1v1 situations, because I watched the play, he's not laboring. He's not a tugger, right? He's not a big, long, slothy,
like tight end kind of guy.
He's light on his feet.
Yeah,
he's light on his feet. It'll be interesting to see if we say borderline player at X, defined role at the little y. That, Kanik, I think this is his 4th year playing, so I don't believe Kanik will have another year. I don't know how that COVID thing works for if you played. I think it was 6 years. I don't think they gave guys 5 years of play versus 4. Maybe they did. I don't know. But I just look at it and I say to myself, Carrion just makes a ton of sense to me as a guy in a slot with a Keontae, with a Giovanni, with a Burks, with a Satania, who now you've got even more fits with people trying to address him with nickelbacks and safeties and cheetahs and stars and jokers, whatever the hell the defensive scheme is calling the guy. To me, that just makes a ton of sense. And so, especially if he's a fringe starter at X, we saw him get a couple snaps. To me, and this is no diss to the guys, but he brings more to the table than Huggins and some of the other tight ends.
Yeah.
And I don't even care. I don't even think it matters that you got to try to sneak him in. Like, is it a run or is it pass? Bring him in on third down when it's a 90% chance it's pass. And if it's not a pass, we're trying to do something to make you think it's pass. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he needs to be a tight end or we got to line him up like we did Andrews. Maybe he gets comfortable and he takes the whole off season to become a more comprehensive tight end. But for this season, he's a weapon. And I don't know yet if he's agile enough to beat, because generally your X is against the field corner. The X is a single receiver when you've got a balanced, you're in 12 personnel. That corner is typically a dude. What does it look like with him versus a backer? Him versus a safety? Him versus a nickel type, 6'4.5", and a guy who looks like it's good. And here I am speaking about him, and he's not somebody who we should be worried about. Burks is a solid Z. I remember I told you I thought he might be a better H than Z, but he's a Z. Satania is going to be really well at H. The difference between Z and H is Z is a defined role and route that you're going to be hitting, and it's generally the first read it gets hot if you're staying place high.
Interesting.
H is a more option-oriented route. H is going to, by nature, it's not going to be going against the top DB because the top DB is going to be outside, and it's a second layer. Dallas is going to win. It's a second layer position, so you're running more in routes, out routes, bubble screens. Z runs a ton of bubble screens too, but corner routes. And so I think Satania in that H role, I think he's found a home, and I think Arbuckle feels really good with him. And then of course Keontae was playing X well. I liked it. We didn't hit him much last week, but he has some stuff available. Mateer has some bad arm angles, or Keontae's whoops the DB against Michigan on a go route. He just beats him inside. If Arbuckle just puts air under it, it's a touchdown. That's the one the guy almost picks because it's a sidearm. But I want to see Giovanni. Giovanni's substantially bigger. You can see, that's a bigger dude. And so seeing what he can bring to the table, I want to see that. By the way, yes, Mateer is fast enough. He's our dude. No complaints, just kind of critiquing, who he is as a player. And what teams might be thinking when they're watching film. Receiver group, I'd say they had a strong day. I didn't see any bad drops. I didn't see any, plays where they left a lot on the table. It left a lot to be desired. Just a little bit of hit and miss with chemistry with the QB.
Let's get to running back.
I noticed something, by the way.
Okay. I'm curious to hear. I know we're going to have a lot of comments, a lot of questions on this. Barnes just continues to be Barnes, right? Just a guy who's not the exceptional runner in the open field, but has had some brighter spots these past 2 weeks. Almost playing like he's got a little pressure on him, right? Where we're like he's got to go out there and get it done. From a pass blocking standpoint, he's done really good. Blaylock, that's your number one guy. Everything that he does now when he's got the ball in his hands says that he is the dude who is probably going to tote the rock in games where they're going to need to lean on the run game. It was good to see X-Rob get going, even though it was late in the game. It was good to see him get a nice feel back. And then you've got the wild card. You've got Jay Knott. And what we are hearing, I'll just say, we'll put this out there. And I think other places may be hearing this as well. The pass blocking is an issue. And D-Mac, you kind of referenced it earlier with another guy. The dog in him may also be an issue, and that's just what what we're hearing. But even just taking out the mental side and how you approach the game, from a pass blocking standpoint in the SEC, with what OU is going to need to do in these games and how they're going to have to be balanced, if you can't pass block and Material's getting clobbered because you got to play Howland and your running back isn't able to recognize and help or recognize and pick up the right person, you're not going to play. You're not going to be effective. You're going to kill the offense before it even has a chance. But good to see Blaylock play. He's a guy who takes an offensive line, but you talked about it a year ago. He takes an offensive line that may not be great at running the football and leaning on a team and makes them look like they know what they're doing. OU ends up with 200 plus on the ground in this one. I think they needed that. But at the end of the day, if you want to win in the SEC and you want to be able to be competitive come playoff time, you've got to have X-Rob and you've got to have Ott going in, or Blaylock going in this offense. Those are the two guys who have showed that they can play big in big games. And then Barnes is going to be a fill-in piece, a player who's a third down back, a guy who can catch the ball. I'm excited to continue to see them progress, especially when we get to a fully healthy offensive line with Fasusi in there on the ground game. But D-Mac, what are your thoughts? Running back, how'd they play? Just the rotation, which rotation seems to be a lot better this year. It seems like there's a little more rhyme and reason to what they're doing, but I want to get your thoughts.
I'm gonna do rotation last because I noticed something. Yeah,
okay.
We can get to that last. Running back is a complement or a detriment to and of the offensive line, and so I think we have to continue to expect that they are a work in progress, but they are improving. Period. I watched attentively. And again, I'm on Twitter yesterday, and it's just very clear that Blaylock runs to daylight. It's very clear that Blaylock can play big and play skinny. I think DeMarco is doing his best to show goodwill to a kid who's worked his tail off and as a team guy and as a veteran, and make sure he knows he has a place and to a degree probably feels he deserves it, especially versus a true freshman and a redshirt freshman, right? Speaking about X-Rob and Blaylock. And to be honest with you, I have no quarrel with how he was used again Saturday. I don't. I'm not really upset that he ran out there first and that he got a couple runs. And I mean, now, how many people we got listening to this live?
Over 200.
Listen to everybody. We're not going to act like because on the goal line, he did a simple shift to get into the end zone, that was like some transformative thing. The kid got a scholarship to OU, and our expectation is if there's a wide open hole, the guard tackle gap and the center guard gap is full with two guys, that you're going to run to the guard tackle gap, right? So I say that to say I wasn't like, jumping for joy because he did what he should do. And it was a cute little jump cut. It was. He kind of jumped into the next gap, got in the end zone. Awesome. But I get it. I guess it speaks to an offensive coordinator who understands his parts and is using them correctly. But this was interesting to me. Barnes plays essentially the first quarter. And we are in a third, and I think we get behind the chains, and we're in like 3rd and 8, and we're probably on our side of the field. I don't remember the exact scenario, but we run some type of draw or delay action to Barnes, and it's one where he has to read, like naturally his feet's going to take him to where they aren't so he can make something happen, which, by the way, Blaylock does extremely well. And he kind of just pauses behind our offensive lineman. Like he kind of gets the ball, doesn't know where to go. He takes 2 steps, and they kind of just corral him right then and there. And then we don't see him for a very long time. And I'm like, And then Blaylock comes in. And there's probably 3 or 4 possessions where Blaylock doesn't sub out. Maybe if he's tired, we probably have a change of pace because he needs a breath. But like Blaylock is the back, and he scores the touchdown. He sticks the guy into the end zone. He runs to daylight. He scores a 17-yard touchdown in the second quarter to puts us up by 21 or something like that. He's getting some nice little runs. Then he has a drop. They run the play that they ran for Barnes the week before against Michigan, that key play where Mateer throws him a nerf and Barnes catches it. And matter of fact, he sticks a guy on the sideline against Michigan. They run that play to Blaylock and he drops it. Watch. He drops it. And I want to say there's one other play, and I actually want to speak to something else, but here's my point. After that happens, shortly thereafter, guess what happens? All of a sudden, X-Rob is in. And now X-Rob is in, and, well, actually, that's not true. X-Rob got one play in the second quarter. I said, he's in, and they didn't bring him back, and they went back to Blaylock. But then there's a play where Blaylock has kind of like a mental low for a mental bust, and now all of a sudden, it's X-Rob. Now, granted, by the time X-Rob goes in, it's kind of the twos anyway. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, okay, maybe they're starting to sit guys, which makes sense with Blaylock having a shoulder. But it felt like for the first time that I can remember, DeMarco truly went with the hot hand. He truly said, it wasn't just like, we're going to rotate, and then 2 possessions, we're going to rotate, and then next possession, it's your turn. It was kind of like, hey, Barnes, you're playing well. Take the first 2 or 3 possessions. And then he has a Barnes type play where we run some type of delay action, and he's just like tripping over his own feet, and then he goes to the pup. And then the pup is cooking, right? Everybody saw the pup goes for over 100 yards. He's got 2 TDs. He hit stick somebody. He shows off his acceleration going down the sideline. I mean, a lot of really good things. And then the pup has a mishap play. And then it's like, okay, X-Rob, it's your turn. I'm not going to say I like it or don't like it, but I do like that it felt like there was a plan. Barry, how many times the last 2 seasons have we said, what in the actual HE-double hockey sticks is going on? How does Tawee have the best possession and then the next possession there's some other dude? Or how does this running back feel like they're picking up momentum and then we rotate them out, right? Like, yeah. Did it feel like pretty much, I'd say every game, if not 70, 80% of the games, that felt like that was the case?
It felt like it was predetermined going in.
It felt like it was predetermined.
You're getting 3, you're getting 2, and then we might go back and repeat that. It was a predetermined lineup that didn't feel like there was any kind of thought put into what's going on.
And you know who I give the credit to? Arbuckle. Because with Levy, we didn't see it. With Seth, we didn't see it. With Joe John, we didn't see it. It seems to me like Arbuckle's like, yo, bro, there has to be a plan and a why and a how to execute. Tell me what you're going to do. And then I think they're following the blueprint. The other thing that I think was very important to say is all the running backs I watched going into the fourth quarter blocked well. Why is that important? I don't want to hear the story of Barnes is far and away the best pass blocker. You know, I got into this whole thing on OU Insider. Somebody freaking quoted me like, come on, man. Y'all always trying to get me in trouble. Somebody quoted something. Barnes needs to play because he can pass block. I say, yeah, the position is called running back, not pass blocking back. Yo, somebody quoted me. Man. Somebody quoted me. I was like, oh, God, y'all always trying to, I know somebody going to see. But, I mean, listen, my point is if the best thing he brings to the table is to pass block, you know, no, but he's earning his reps, I think. But all 3, go back and watch. Blaylock, by the way, stepping up, firm with the shoulders, squatting in it, taking the contact, running feet. You can say the same for X-Rob. You can say the same for Blaylock. You can say the same for Barnes. Now, do I think that means if there was a play where they need the running back to satellite inside out to read where the blitz is coming, they wouldn't err with Barnes? I think they would err with Barnes, and I would be fine with that.
Yep.
But the other 2 guys, I think when they watch film this week, I think Murray's going to give them a notch of respect and a notch of trust that says, hey, these guys are stepping up, sticking their nose in there. Here's an example. When Q first took over at running back, it was pretty known he was either getting the ball or we were passing the ball when he was in the game, first couple of games. we play, I don't remember who it is, whoever one of our last games of the season is. It might have been Okie State. And Q sticks his nose in there. By the way, Q could squat 500. Q is strongest, probably 600. Strong as hell. That was when Q was able to stay in and basically take over the running back position. He was already the best runner. He was already the best pass catcher. But when Q became competent at blocking, there was no reason to have Skins or Mike Thornton or Johnny Bayless, some of those other guys who were seeing, man, that's crazy. I remember those names. It was Q's job. And so I think Blaylock did a lot for his ability to get reps. I wouldn't be surprised if Blaylock's the first running back on the field against Auburn. I think the film yesterday was that good. And I think his clean mental side of picking up, knowing where to expect the pressure, stepping up into the proper gap when the offensive line was one side was man blocking and there's going to be natural alleys, him stepping into those spaces and doing a really good job. I think that garners him earning the trust because he's just so much more a threat than Barnes is with the ball in his hand. Inside, outside, in trash, all three. He's better than Barnes inside. He's better than Barnes outside. He's better than Barnes in trash. And I bet you if he gets a step, he doesn't get caught. And I don't know for sure if I can say the same for Barnes, just because he's never gotten himself in space unless we were playing against Maine.
Yeah, and the offensive line, not to transition too much, and we don't need to spend a ton of time on there because I do want to get to Gorilla Nuts player of the game, but the offensive line on the interior is progressing. D-Mac, it looks like Fabechi and Nwewu, who the offensive linemen don't get a lot of Gorilla Nuts love, but man, Fasusi got it last week. Fabechi is playing good football. He looks much more athletic this year, and he's one of my favorite guys along that line of scrimmage. He's not a surprise at this point, but man, the O-line this is the soonest I think we've seen an offensive line that was going to have to kind of be not pieced together, but just figuring out how it all fits, particularly when it comes to injuries to start the year. And if they can stay healthy down the stretch, really after this Auburn game and beyond, that this team's got a chance to be really good. But this is the quickest I think we've seen a beaten bow offensive line coalesce and become something that resembles a good quality offensive line in the SEC. An offensive line that's going to be able to, even if they're not necessarily moving people 3-4 yards off the line of scrimmage, they are creating run lanes. They're protecting the quarterback, which they still have done a good job. There were moments, I highlighted them at the start of the show with Howland, where there were moments where he just absolutely got beat. But man, Simmons looks really explosive when he pulls. They pulled the guard and the tackle on the Mateer run. That was they pulled guard tackle.
Simmons is running with him 30 yards down the field.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The guys look athletic on that offensive line. It is an offensive line that is they're going to take their lumps in some of these. And I think fans just need to be ready and temper what the goal is of the game, and which is to win the game. I don't think the O-line is going to go against teams and just look physically dominant every time, but I do think they are capable of winning, and I do think you're going to see a lot of improvement take place here in these next 2 to 3 weeks. And with how things are going in Texas, I mean, we'll see what goes on with that. But I think OU is going to have a chance to, we'll preview that game when it gets here. We'll have a little bit firmer idea of what Texas looks like after they play Florida. But I think OU is going to have a shot in that game to put it on them. And then we'll just have to wait and see. But D-Mac, real quick on the offensive line, and then we'll get to Gorilla Nuts.
One thing I didn't say that I want to say is X-Rob. I don't know why they're not naturally getting him back in the groove of things. We need his body type at running back, especially if we have Blaylock, and of course Blaylock's shoulder, and of course he's a puppy. And with X-Rob's pedigree from last season and some big games, I would like to see us have a more intentional plan to get him the ball. Park that. All right, something that I also think needs to be said is I think Arbuckle is saying our offensive line is who they are. Let's stay to our strengths versus try to force an immovable object to go through a brick wall. And I say that to say I think that's why we see so much quick game. Again, my 2000 season, we ran a ton of quick game as a way to supplement the run game. We ran a ton of jet sweep as a way to supplement the run game. And obviously, when you do the jet sweep pass, receivers ain't tripping off catching that 1 foot pass and it counting towards their receiving yards. And I promise you, quarterbacks ain't tripping off throwing that 1 foot pass. And right, it's out the gate for Satania for 25. It's out the gate for Burks for 17. Burks scores a touchdown week 1 against Illy State, right? Those are TD passes and passing yards. And so I think, again, I just think that is the sign of really good leadership, really good direction. And that's all indirectly speaking about the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Those are plays where otherwise, if we try to run power, we try to run some type of inside concept, outside concept, counter concept, you're trying to get O-linemen to cover up defensive players, and they just struggle doing that sometimes. And so you create these positive aspects of your offense. Now, other gripe with Arbuckle, which, by the way, guys, I hope you guys, maybe you didn't get on here at the beginning. I'm speaking in terms of my critiques from greatness versus championship caliber. So when you guys hear me make these critiques, it's not to say they're bad. It's saying, hey, we played great, but we want to be championship level. Okay. I think there's something to be said about the offensive line getting into a groove with Blaylock and going away from the run. I think it could have boded extremely well to give the offense a possession or two, a drive or two to just lean on their ass. We're going to force the pill. We're going to show teams that when we've got some aggression, some momentum, we put our foot on your neck. And that was around the time that Mateer started having issues with, accuracy and throwing the ball with the proper type of, zip on it or taking a little bit off of it. Those are plays where we could have had Blaylock. He was chewing up 4, 5, 6 yards a carry and making some big plays as well. It would have been cool, I think, from a morale standpoint, and really to a point to prove standpoint to just say, hey, we're going to have a drive or two where we just maul their ass. I think about the Georgia game against Tennessee. Tennessee jumps out 21-7. Georgia has a drive where we're like, hey, dude, we're just going to run it down your throat. And they did that. And it gave Tennessee something else to think about. And obviously, Tennessee kicker, stupid tail, misses the damn kick and then kicks the exact same one and makes it in overtime. Pisses me off. I wanted Tennessee to win that game. But Chuck, I think you're the one who said it earlier. But I say that to say that's a critique that I think if he watched the film, he'd say, damn, we could have put our foot on their neck a little longer. But the group, man, you've got 4 guys who are solid. Ozita is better than EPL. Sorry, he is. I like EPL. Yeah. Ozita's he's more consistent. Simmons is a solid right tackle. I didn't see any. I'm sure there were a couple plays where he gave up a little much, but there aren't any plays where he just gets whooped, which is really bodes well for that right tackle position. 54. I don't like to say his name, so I say his number instead. 54. Again, people hated on him 2 years ago when we were like, I don't see it. Or last year, we were like, he looks solid. The unit sucks or has issues, but he's a guy who we are seeing do what he needs to do. And then center, it looks like we found a center. We didn't see the center sitting in the lap of the QB. Now, we'll see, going against Auburn on Saturday.
Auburn's got some guys, man. Auburn's got some dudes. We'll talk about it.
We'll see. But I think in terms of what you're expecting against an inferior opponent, did well. We get Fasusi back. We have Howland as a swing tackle whose depth, that's not terrible.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people saying we're an offensive line away from championship. I think we're in the season where they are a work in progress. Emphasis on in progress, meaning they have a ceiling that they have not ascended to, meaning they can improve.
This year, I think this year that they've got a ceiling that they have not hit.
Week to week, I don't see why people don't think that they could be a team that by week 7, 8, 9, especially Arbuckle knows what they're good at. especially they rep the hell out of those things, and especially he doesn't put them in a ton of scenarios where they don't have to do what they're not good at. Yeah. Guys, I'm here to tell you that I don't want to look at it from the glass half empty. The half full glass says these guys playing together more consistently and staying healthy is a big key. Bodes well. Well.
Man, and if they can get through, let's see, so this would be Auburn 4-5. Man, if they can get through Texas 5-0, and then the Texas game, and this Auburn game too.
That'd be six.
That'd be six.
That's
right.
State.
They got Kent State. I keep forgetting about Kent State in the middle there. Man, if they can get through this first half of the schedule 6-0, and then if they can get out of this Auburn and that Texas game with having not necessarily dominated on the offensive line, but just take care of business, the back half of the schedule, it still looks daunting, but I don't think it looks like it looked when we started the year. I think each one of these teams, your Alabamas, your Tennessees, your South Carolinas, your LSUs, those teams have all shown to some degree that they have weaknesses, that they can be taken advantage of in areas where OU now has a quarterback who can finally hit those disadvantages, a guy who can say, well, we're going to attack this player, that player, our tight end's going to have a game in this one. We got an answer for you at the slot. We can do different things. And if they can get the run game going, just more of a traditional run game going with the offensive line and build some confidence coming out of this Auburn game, going into Kent State, and then out of Texas, I think this team, D-Mac, they only need, after if they can get through Texas 6-0, they only need 3 more wins out of that last bit to be in what I would say the playoff discussion. But man, you're talking about a team that might have a chance to get there. Like it really looks like that there's some meat here for the taking, as long as the guys, one, you got to maintain focus and keep improving and keep focusing on just the individual job that you have at hand. But number two, you have got to stay healthy. Like that's going to be the biggest piece for this team, is trying to keep guys right. As soon as you can sit guys against Kent State or hopefully Auburn, right? As soon as you can give a guy a break, man, you got to make it happen. So,
can I say something though?
Go ahead.
We've had a handicap so many years, we forgot what it feels like to have a complete team. Let me say that again. We've had like, our run defense, we can't, stop a nosebleed. Our pass defense, we can't cover anybody. Our quarterback can't complete a pass. We don't have those issues, right? I see people talking about like, there's nobody who can beat us. Facts. But there's also just a 1-week schedule every week. Mm-hmm. If we game plan correctly every week, we can beat everybody. Like we genuinely can beat everybody. Bama looked good against 2 bad teams or one-dimensional teams. Bama looked better after getting mud stomped by a 2-dimensional team that was equally physical. Tennessee and Georgia look good. We don't have Georgia. Tennessee is good. Tennessee's going to be they should have won that game. And so Tennessee's a game, but those 2 guys, LSU has on both sides of the ball, they leave a lot left to be desired. Got some good players on both sides of the ball. I said it earlier. I thought Nussmeier was overrated, the top 2 or 3 quarterback. No, he's not. South Carolina is who we thought they were. Quarterback goes down. By the way, he went down last year, so maybe there's something to him. Sellers may not be a guy who can play every week, right? Texas goes without saying. Rivalry game, I'd rather have our quarterback versus their quarterback. All things being equal, I'd rather have our skill guys going against their skill guys. All things being equal, I might prefer to have our defense. At the backer position, they've got a couple dudes, you know what I'm saying? But I like our dudes too. Their secondary is a year ahead of ours in the sense of the guys who are already known dudes. But I remember last year they had a young secondary where they had new guys coming up. We've got a young secondary where our guys are coming up. We got some mainstays at the safety position. But I say all that to say, like, this is a year, as Sooner fans, we have to embrace we don't have a clear handicap.
Mm-hmm.
We've always had to overcome. Baker had to score or else, right? Dylan Gabriel, we had one trick with Levy. Remember I started talking about we're a one-trick pony. If our plan A didn't work, we didn't really have a plan B, right? Last year, we had no offensive identity, and we were injured up the ballyhoo. This season, guys, like, yeah, gotta stay healthy. That's for everybody. I promise you. If every team we play is quarterbacks out when we play them, the likelihood of us losing games goes down like 50, 60, 70%. So we got to stay healthy just like they do. But like when you look at our secondary, there's no real handicap if our guys are healthy. Backers, D-line, top units in the country. Receivers, skill guys, because we have an offensive OC who knows how to get guys in positions to be successful. That's a freaking plus. It's a plus. I don't think we have the athleticism and talent of maybe LSU skill guys. But like Nussmeier is a guy who, if you rattle him, he's going to throw you the ball a couple times. The defense, that is, right? So I just think it's going to be muscle memory for us to not go into games expecting to have to overcome some preset deficit deficiency that we're just accustomed to it, right? I mean, even Landry and those guys, like, who remembers the Landry Jones years where we could remember how many times we'd be like, how's that receiver running 30 yards behind the defense?
Yeah.
Like, just regular dudes, they would scheme up triple post, whatever, the ugly, the jerk routes and stuff, and guys are wide open. Tech comes to mind, TCU comes to mind, West V comes to, I can just think of games as far as 15 years ago where there was some pre-programmed deficit. Landry, and we would always be like, oh man, we need Landry to come through, and sometimes in that big moment, he didn't, right? He didn't. Well, I feel like we finally have a sound team. I mean, everybody knows the Baker years, the Kylie years, the Hurts years, right? Those guys had to be Herculean Superman mixed with Thor, you know what I'm saying, in our big games. Otherwise, we could lose by 30. And, of course, because Link was so good on the offensive side of the ball, that rarely happened. We usually got into a shootout, and we could win by a little, lose by a little, or take over the game late because we keep scoring. And finally, we kind of get ourselves in a position where we could pin our ears back, and bring pressure. So I say all that to say, I think contextually, we need to look at this season a little different. Other thing, we were inferior man-to-man in the SEC last year. A lot of that was due to injuries. But, like, I watched the games, and I'm like, I don't see a position group on A&M that just looks distinctly better than ours. I don't see a position group at, Alabama. Again, maybe the receivers are a little more dynamic, you know what I'm saying? And, whatever, like guys who could take a curl from 30 to 60. Ryan Williams comes to mind. You see that corner he caught? It's either a corner or an over route. Ryan Williams runs, it's either a corner or an over. I can't tell if he goes across the formation or same side, but he runs some type of outcut. He catches the ball as he's catching it at the sideline, sticks his foot in the ground, bounces back on both DBs. They both run by him, and he runs 40 yards for a touchdown. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Stuff we saw him do as a freshman. That Georgia game comes to mind last year, that night game where he just cooked. But it's not like there's a huge difference. And believe it or not, I'm even speaking on O-line potential. Simmons holds up. Fasusi holds up. Our offensive line is not going to be the huge mountain to climb deficit that we thought. I'm not guaranteeing it yet. But, like, how dare us say they're just going to suck because last year they sucked, when this year they're obviously getting better week to week. Damn it, I'm going to talk about the ascension versus the potential, decay or default until they show me otherwise. So O-line, I'm with him. I'm standing with him. Beat him, Bo. I'm standing with him. Sorry, guys. I know a lot of you guys hate him because of the last 3 years. I'm worried about this one.
Yeah.
And in this particular year, they're showing improvement and recruiting guys like Fasusi, who we got to give him credit for, is a guy who can make a big difference with that line.
Well, and I think Beatenbow has the kind of player on his team now that he wants at that position. And offensive line, we talked about it back when they were struggling and recruiting really well. We said it's just a position that takes so much time to get guys' bodies right, to get them seasoned and to get them ready to go. And Fasusi is way more like what Bedenbaugh has wanted to go after. Of course, everybody wants a 5-star guy, but even like your Ozetas and your Fabecchis, your guys who have the strength in the hands, the ability to move. He wants offensive linemen who can get out and run. And here's a perfect example of the improvement, D-Mac. First week against Illinois State, called out 70 quite a bit for his pulling action and just not finishing the action. This past week against Temple, know what he does? He goes out there and he pulls faster and he finishes. Yep. And he finishes the play. And that's just stuff where that's coaching. That's getting in the film room and saying, "Hey, buddy, you gotta take care of business on this." And when you're not confident in what you're doing, you're gonna move slower. You're gonna have slower feet. And in this case, man, the team has shown confidence in what they want to do, especially on the offensive line. But when you got 77 who can move, 66, one of the maybe the most impressive thing about Simmons is his speed coming out as a tackle. Because, OU has historically liked, back to the Link years, they love to pull tackle guard. And one of the things that made them so good was their offensive linemen were athletes. Samia would get out there and just run your tail over, man. He was fast out of the stance. He was fast to get around the corner. And if you don't have that, you're not going to be as good, and that extra gap you're making, that ability to get on the edge, is just going to go away. But one thing not going away, final segment of the day, D-Mac, Gorilla Nuts player of the game. Guys, since we've been talking about the offense, we're going to take it back over to the defense. D-Mac, for this game, Oklahoma against Temple, utter domination from start to finish on the defensive side of the ball. Who is your Gorilla Nuts player of the game?
This one's quite easy for me. People might even say I'm being biased, but I was really proud of this young guy coming in and stepping in pretty much early in the game, showing physicality, blitzing, showing physicality, tackling in space, being a guy who was showing an emotional side that I was just curious to see if he got a lot of reps, what he show and what he kind of naturally have. He's a guy who took over the majority of the cheetah snaps. He had a sack. He's a guy who we saw headhunting. He's a guy who we saw be technically sound in what he was asked to do at the second level. He also just happens to wear 13 and had that thing looking real nice. But really proud of Reggie Powers, man, a guy who's a borderline starter, a guy who worked his tail off. We heard a lot of really good things about him going through camp, going through summer even. Family's a friend of the show. And so, I just think, he was for me the number one, just so everyone knows. I had Kip at 2 and I had Jaden at 3. Jaden has been in my top 3 every single week just because I'm just telling, but he didn't play enough snaps. Kip had his cleanest game of the season, I think, in terms of fits, plays, no missed tackles. But Powers, man, I think he solidified that we've got 5 starting caliber DBs, not including the guys who were injured, which means we could have 6 or 7, right? But 5 starting caliber DBs who can go in there. And he's a guy who gives me Roy Lee type vibes. It'll be interesting to see as he continues to play. And I think he'll have a couple more seasons. I think he's the next RSJ who's going to be an entrenched dude that they depend on and trust in the seasons to come. But I say, look out. I think he's a guy who this season we can see become a playmaker. Reggie Powers, defensive, Gorilla Nuts, player of the game, rocking that one tray, baby. Looking sweet in the process.
I absolutely love it, D-Mac. And I'm going to stay secondary too, because this is a player who has just shown tremendous improvement from the moment he got to campus. He was a player who Oklahoma fans said this guy's going to be a hard hitter. He's going to have a nose for the football. He's going to be able to create pressures. He's going to be able to give OU some different looks. And I'll say this, man, I think I said it in week 1. He's been kind of close or in the ballpark, but he needed to make a play to really be Gorilla Nuts player of the game for me. And I honestly thought about going defensive line too. I think David Stone has some big highlights, and I would even throw honorable mention, not enough, this isn't participation trophy, but honorable mention Kendall Dolby in there just because of the journey he's had coming back from that injury. So honorable mention Gorilla Nuts for him. But Gorilla Nuts player of the game for me is none other than Michael Boganowski. The sack, the hit he had, man, he took some juice off that thing. Otherwise, that was going to be utterly devastating for that quarterback, man. And some guys just got a knack for getting home, for making the hit. I'll say this, he isn't a guy who just is going to lower the shoulder and get in there. Yeah. He is going to wrap you up. He is going to not only bring the heat and be physical at the point of attack, but he's going to wrap up. And that is what makes the defense so good, is they've got 11 guys doing that right now. And if you're not doing that, you're hardy, where you're getting backup reps at the end of the game. And even though you had a good spring, you had a really good fall camp, if you don't wrap up and you let guys get extra yards, that will kill you. Moving over to the offense, I'm going to go first on this one, D-Mac. This one for me went back and forth. Kanik has been Gorilla Nuts two times. So I know he had the 2-pointer guys. I know he converts the 3rd and 19, but I want to go different direction on this one. And this is a player we talked about on the show earlier. He's a guy who came to Oklahoma as a transfer, already experienced playing SEC ball, and was able to get right in there and start making some hay. Been a weapon on special teams, a guy who OU fans, I wouldn't say surprised at what he's done on special teams, but OU needed that. They needed a surge. They needed some fire. They needed some oomph in that punt return spot, and they might have got some oomph at the receiver spot, and that is Isaiah Satania. He is a guy who, in SEC ball, end of the year, playoff potentially, SEC championship, he is the type of guy when your focus is on a Burks, when a Kanik is creating a mismatch, when the run game is humming a little bit and the defense has to account for that, when you've got a guy who can Mark Clayton some guys in the open field and just pick up 5, pick up 7, go for 16, go for 20. He almost sometimes looks like he's not running real fast. He's one of those guys that's just real elusive, but he's moving, man. He's scooting. He is just so smooth. So for me, Gorilla Nuts player of the game on the offensive side of the ball, Isaiah Satania. D-Mac, who you got?
I like that pick a lot. I like his grit. He reminds me of our years. He gives me our years by. He's tough and he's got an attitude. I like that. My Gorilla Nuts is pretty straightforward here, guys. I think we found out who our starting bell cow is going to be at the running back position. A kid who has shown that he's unafraid to get his nose inside those inside gaps. He's a guy who will run the daylight. Guys, his second touchdown is not designed to go outside. He goes inside out. He just runs to where they're not and then beats everybody to the pylon. I think he's somebody who we haven't seen a running back, aside from the main game, go 30, 40, 50 yards and just naturally be the runner that's going to get us to the end zone and have the speed to do it. I think we're going to see him do that some this season, assuming, offensive line moves people in the way that we need them to move people. Blaylock's a guy who I think has a very high ceiling. I was really paying attention to his blocking because he got 3 or 4 possessions in a row where he was the dude. And so there wasn't a ton of, putting guys in, taking guys out. And so he got a chance to get comfortable. He got a chance to get the rock. He got a chance to get a feel. And seeing him continuing to ascend, gaining confidence. I will say, don't try to drop the shoulder on everybody. We said that week 1 against Illy State, and obviously damn near pops his shoulder out of socket.
Get it, buddy.
But it's good to have a back that can, you know what sucks? This is bad to say, but I think it's the truth too, and I don't want to kind of tarnish what we just said about him, but he's probably a middle-of-the-road back in the SEC. Like, think about it. He's a true freshman, 25 carries for his career thus far. There's a lot of good running backs in our league. There's a lot of good teams have good running backs. I was watching the Kentucky game last week. I think they had Ole Miss. They've got a dude who's, good player. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And obviously, some of the bigger names, Georgia, Tennessee,
LSU,
some of those guys,
Durham.
LSU, Durham. Right. But that's not a bad position to be. And he's got a ceiling that we have no idea if he's just scratching the surface of who he could be. Again, kind of like the Oline this season. I do think we have to make mention of Kanak again. He, as a weapon, opens up so many things. Yeah. The people who just want to see him catch the ball don't understand the impact he has on other guys' ability to have freedom and space and to make plays themselves. I also think it needs to be noted for Kanak. I like that, Kanak the mechanic. That's dope. I also think it needs to be noted that for Kanak, go watch some of those bubble screens and edge screens that they like to run, where they get the guys on the edge and they throw that quick bat and they flip it to them up top or down the bottom. By the way, Keontae is the best. Keontae is the best at that block. Oh, he shuts his man down every time. When we run that play on the X side, the X receiver is canceling his guy. But Kanak has done a really good job at that as well. But my Gorilla Nuts player of the game, I think every week we've had a freshman, if I remember correctly, which says this freshman class is making an impact. Recruiting matters, right? Blaylock's a guy who I think we can say, this is our dude. And putting him in position to be the primary, it's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely, D-Mac. And one of the things that's going to be primary for you guys is the Barry and Mack show each and every week. Guys, I know we were a little late on the post game here, but has some stuff going on. Want to say out here in Tulsa, if you guys are in the area, we are doing a LifeWise event this Friday night at 6 o'clock out in Bixby. If you want questions on that, the ability to get involved with having the ability to teach the Bible, give the gospel in the public school system. Based on a House bill that was passed in 2024. It is really cool. I'm excited to be involved in it. We were out doing stuff like that for it yesterday to help spread the word, help get it out there. A little bit of everybody, brother. So you wildin'. So we're out having fun, getting after it, man. Just exciting stuff happening not only for OU football, but happening out here in the world in Oklahoma and in Tulsa. I know everybody was sad and hurt with the Charlie Kirk stuff, and we don't get political. That's not really our lane at all. But
nah, man, God rest his family, man. God rest his soul. For
the
sure.
Gospel's for everyone, and we're just trying to get it into the hands of all these kids. So if you guys want to support that, just get at me, DM at BWise Fitness on Instagram, at BWise Fitness on X. That's kind of the best place to reach out to me. And my phone number's public. Just search for it. You guys find it. Give me a call, if you guys want to see, but it's out in Bixby. D-Mac, closing thoughts before we get out of here today, brother.
Good deal, bro. I don't think we've done a 2-hour one for a minute. Been a minute. But a lot to talk about. Hey, B, I don't know how I would do this, but I'd like to do my 10 thoughts. How would I do it live? Maybe we'll talk about that offline.
Yeah, I'll just send you the link, man. We'll get after.
Okay. Yeah. Guys, good win heading into SEC play, obviously, against Auburn. I think this is going to be treated like a rivalry week. A lot of those guys I think they're going to take this very personal in terms of Jackson coming back, and Auburn looks good. Their RPO stuff is really clean. I think, by the way, he looks like the QB that he was in high school. Yesterday, they started adding the down the field component where they're getting guys 1v1 like he had with his receivers. If we think we're going to win just because of bravado, or just because we don't like him or whatever, that ain't gonna cut it. They've got really good players over there. They've got a really good system over there. Do I think we have the advantage? Of course, we'll talk about that during the midweek in the pre-pod. But I look forward to this game. It's probably a step up. I don't think it's a step up in athleticism for Michigan. I think people are wild and acting like Michigan was just chop liver. They're not. Yeah. Michigan's going to win. I think Michigan loses 1 or 2 games in conference, maybe. And so Underwood took the next step after our game. And as you guys can see, he was a threat. But I do feel like the Auburn game, obviously being a conference game, if we win this game, let me change my language. When we win this game, the entire country will be on notice. I'm going to watch to make sure the defense, I bet you they play clean. I bet you Jackson takes some hits. And I bet you we confuse him pre-snap. And I bet you we confuse him post-snap. But Venables is going to do both. Venables is going to run some stuff pre-snap to make him think, and then Venables is going to disguise some stuff post-snap. We're going to switch out of it. We'll talk about that in more detail. Shout out to Midland Sooner. Thank you very much. But I end this by saying this, guys. Long season. I just go off my own experience. The fans' confidence matters. I can't speak to fans being sensitive Susies or negative Nancy's because we turned it around and we were pretty successful. So I didn't experience a ton of that because we lost that OSU game. We had no business losing, but otherwise we pretty much delivered, guys. But I can promise you, I felt the confidence. I promise you, being around town and everybody's like, hell yeah, we're gonna we knew we had to do the work, and you guys as fans were going to be the ones cheering us on. But when you guys provide that separate air of figure it out, get her done, we're going to win, the guys sense it. It has an impact, like a tangible impact. I promise you. So I just say, let's be cautiously optimistic. I just say, let's cheer our guys on, giving them the necessary ingredients to, feel the blessings, so to speak, that come from us, and be unapologetic about kicking ass. Like, what are we talking about? The game is designed to be physical and for somebody to win and somebody to lose. If somebody got to lose, it ain't going to be us. That's my mentality. So, yeah, guys, appreciate you guys for the pod. Super dope. I'm going to try to get the 10 thoughts in today. I'm doing it on the pod. That's where I'm doing it. And that's where it's going to be. If people want to see 10 thoughts, they will see it on the Barry Mack channel. And if I can do it live and some of you guys can plug in, that'd be dope. If not, you guys will see it when we download it. Have a good weekend and God bless everybody.
Awesome. Appreciate everybody for hopping on today. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all the things. And, man, get at us on social media. At Dame That Dude on Instagram. Find me at BWise Fitness, letter B, WISE Fitness. And got a little bit of a partnership cooking. We won't announce it today, but we're going to have a product featured up here on the show that we have worked on and solidified. So guys, be on the lookout for that coming very, very soon. But as always, Sooner Nation, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you soon.